The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We are so glad that you're here with us today. We have got, two incredible shows to offer you today. And I got to tell you, this first show is a show you all have been asking for, and we have delivered to you. In fact, I can't wait to introduce you to him. Let me introduce you to Ryan Campos of Federal Tax Law Group. Good afternoon, Ryan.
Hey, good afternoon, Steve. How are you today?
We're doing good. I'm so glad we've got you. And, for the next 20, 25 minutes, we're going to be educating people on taxes and dealing with the IRS. It does get a little complicated, and that's why it's so important to have a company like Federal Tax Law Group. I just want to read our first text that just came in. Said, I really want to thank you for bringing us this show. I'm one of the people who've been asking for a show like this, so I appreciate you actually reading my text and my emails. So that's a great way to start up the show. Ryan, tell everybody about Federal Tax Law Group.
Okay, well, here at Federal Tax Law Group, we're a group of attorneys, enrolled agents, as well as tax preparers and consultants. So we specialize in helping individuals as well as businesses in resolving their tax issues with the IRS. So a great deal of the clients we help are individuals that have either gone behind on the returns. So unfortunately, a lot of times we let the taxes go and end up getting behind and have a lot of years to file. So we work on helping people get compliant, as they call it, where they're back on track, they file all the returns. And in many cases where they do owe money to the IRS, we can help to negotiate different compliant programs for them. So there's different programs like payment plans. There's offer and compromise where we can settle with the IRS for smaller amounts. And then there's partial pay, which is similar to a settlement. And then, of course, non-collectible status for clients that maybe aren't in a position to pay. So we can get them in programs where they don't have to pay anything back. So there's a variety of different programs. And then aside from that, once we go and help clients out, we do work on keeping them compliant by filing their up-to-date returns, helping them with bookkeeping services. And we also work with clients in even setting up corporations. So after analyzing their cases and their business situation, many times we can go in and recommend corporate status, whether it's an S Corp, C Corp, or whatever it might be, depending on the type of business the client has. So in many cases, that can actually help save them quite a bit of taxes once they're back on track. So we like to pride ourselves in being able to kind of cover everything from getting them out of the problem to then getting them back on track, and then pretty much serving more as a tax consultant at that point.
People don't realize what an arsenal you actually have to help people when they get behind on their taxes. If they didn't file their taxes, you have a lot of things that you can do to help them.
Oh, absolutely agree. There's different programs out there. A lot of people aren't aware of them. I know the IRS can seem pretty intimidating, where people many times they shuffle the letters into their desk or hide them and try not to deal with it. So anybody that is facing a situation like this where they owe money to the IRS, or that even with collections, whether it's wage garnishments, bank levies, or things like that, where it's gone a little bit more aggressive, there is help out there. We can definitely assist people, whether they're at the beginning phase where they're just getting the initial letters letting them know that they owe money or whatever it is, or that they have outstanding returns, to even where they've gone more aggressive, to where they've already started to garnish your wages, where your employers receive letters, or where people have received letters to their bank and they've taken money out. Those are all things we can help with. And even when you have revenue officers, sometimes when you get to a more escalated level of tax debt, they may assign a revenue officer to the case, to where now they're assigned you. They may show up to your home, to your business, and try to collect, whether it be through garnishments, levies, or whatever it might be. So those are all different things that we can help with. So really, no matter what's going on, there is help available. So it's always better to address it than.
I know there's one way you can help them is when they stick that IRS unopened envelope in the drawer, because it doesn't disappear, does it?
No, all that happens at that point is really the IRS doesn't stop. So it just continues. It's kind of like an automatic machine that keeps going and going. It goes from the first notice to second to the final notice, and then to when it gets to the point where they're actually garnishing and levying and things of that nature. Aside from that, the penalties and the interest are pretty hefty. So it does nobody any good just putting it in the desk, because it's growing and it's becoming a bigger problem. So if it was already big enough at the beginning to deal with, or if it was already too big to deal with, guess what? The problem is just getting bigger, unfortunately. So it's always better to get ahead of it and reach out to somebody for help.
Can the IRS ever, these notices that they send out, are they always correct?
No, believe it or not, the IRS does make mistakes. So at times, especially, you got to remember, these guys are collecting and they have a database of pretty much the entire country. So there's definitely going to be mistakes. Sometimes they have errors in what was reported. Sometimes they may have you down for income that maybe you didn't get. But the issue is, whenever you don't file your returns, they can file what's called a substitute for return, where basically they estimate your taxes. So that might not be right. They may have incorrect information, or they may have overestimated what you owe. They may not, obviously, they didn't take into account any deductions, write-offs, dependents, or anything else that you may have normally included on your return. So many times, to answer your question, yes, they can't have incorrect information, but the unfortunate thing is they can collect on that. So it's not like your typical justice system where you're innocent until proven guilty. It's rather the opposite. They have you on the hook for something, and it's your job to prove that you don't owe it. So that's something we can definitely help out with.
We just got another text. Enjoying the show. Thank you for bringing this type of show. We were wondering how long it was going to be before you would have a tax show on. Thank you so much. My question is, can the IRS, does the IRS with all the new agents make your job tougher?
For us, believe it or not, with the more agents that are available, it makes it a little bit easier, just because we're able to go ahead and have people to work with in order to get this result. At the end of the day, the IRS actually looks at companies like ourselves as allies in helping, because at the end of the day, our goal is to get clients compliant. At the end of the day, the IRS has a lot of outstanding individuals or businesses that they have on their books, and their job at the end of the day is to clear those up. So we do help assist in that. And as far as the agents working there, they are helping in moving the process along a little bit quicker, because now they have a little bit more manpower to process cases, tax returns, or whatever it might be. So it does help.
Can the IRS collect on a person forever?
No, as a matter of fact, there's actually a statute of limitations.
Ah.
So with the IRS, they typically have a 10-year statute of limitation, and that's actually from when the tax return is filed. So you'll find for many individuals or businesses that didn't file on time, that statute of limitation is not necessarily set by the year of the return, but when it's filed. So just to give you an easy example, say, for example, you had a return from 2015 and say you never filed it. So instead of being a 2025 CSET or 2026, whenever you actually would have filed it, it's going to be from the date of. So say you filed it 5 years late in, say, 2020, your statute of limitations starts on the day that you actually file the return. But the IRS only has a certain period to collect. So that's the good part. And we also can implement different strategies when we're negotiating with the IRS, such as partial payment installment agreements, where we can actually use those statute of limitations to our client's advantage. So if we know that, for example, there's a statute of limitation that expires in, say, 2 years or 3 years, if we were to go ahead and structure payments over that 2 or 3 year period, that's less than the total amount they owed. In essence, they're settling or paying less than this total amount due. So it's another form of settlement.
Well, another text saying, good show. We do read your emails and your texts. So, and we try to always deliver the type shows that you want. Ryan will absolutely be with us again next month. He'll be with us every month. Your question is, I think it's spelled wrong, but with the IRS, can they go after my wife also?
Good question. The IRS can go after your spouse, especially if you're filing jointly together. So when you file jointly, even though maybe one spouse is the one working, earning the majority of the income, if you are filing together, they can come after both of you because the IRS looks at you as basically one entity. So they can come after both assets or both of you for any assets or anything that you may have. So they can definitely come after both of you, but there are different programs like innocent spouse and things of that nature where we can help protect the spouse if for some reason there was something that happened where maybe there was some sort of fraud or things like that that happened where maybe the spouse wasn't aware of it or things of that nature. So there's different things that we can do, but to answer your question, yes, they can come after both.
You know, Ryan, we're, I don't know how it is around the country. We're here in Florida, and we see these commercials all the time. I owed $1 million and this company settled it for $100. Are those anywhere close to being true?
It is true. So there are different programs that the IRS has put in place in order to settle for less. So one of their main programs is the offer in compromise, which I mentioned earlier. Now there's qualifications for that though. So they just don't settle just with anybody just because. So you need to meet certain requirements. Just like if you're getting underwritten for a loan for $1 million or $2 million, they want to see that you have the ability to qualify for that loan and to pay it back. Well, it kind of works in reverse when it goes to settlements with the IRS. So in a settlement, we need to prove that you don't have the ability to pay back the debt. So if you've fallen through hardship or things of that nature, and maybe at the time you don't have a lot of income coming in, you don't have assets, things of that nature, you could be a good candidate for those programs. But somebody, for example, that has is a high earner, they have a lot of assets, maybe have a lot of equity in a home, things of that nature, you may not qualify for a program like that. So each program that we structure for each client is tailored to their particular situation. So do those programs exist? Yes, they do. But does everybody qualify for them? No, you have to meet the requirements for them. And that's our job as professionals, really, to go through your financials and to structure it as best as possible to present your case to get you the best possible outcome.
Here's a question from Jonathan. Wants to know if I don't have the money to pay the IRS, can they send me to prison?
Technically, they can send you to prison, but does that happen? Very far and few between. I would say many a times the only time you need to worry about going to prison or something of that nature is if it's fraud related. But in the 15 plus years that I've been doing this, I've never seen any clients go to prison or anything of that nature just for owing money. So typically they're more likely to go ahead and actually agree to some sort of payment plan or some sort of compliant program opposed to that. So it's, again, the only times you need to worry about that is if you're doing some sort of fraud, whether it be tax fraud or something of that nature, which I'd say 99% of the cases that we handle aren't fraud. It's just simply a matter of maybe mismanagement where they weren't able to pay the taxes on time. They let things go and they just need help getting back on track.
Ryan, when we were looking for an expert for this area, I read a lot of the online comments, and many of the online comments were that people were unhappy with other companies they hired because they never got back with them. What is your customer service like?
Our customer service is great. We try to go ahead and communicate very frequently with clients and really set proper expectations with each and every case. And with these types of cases, it's a team effort. You got to remember, just because you hire a company doesn't necessarily mean that the problem's gone away. There's a lot of participation still within the clients that they needed to handle, whether it's sending certain documents, whether it's sending information to file the returns and things of that nature. So as far as communication and customer service, we pride ourselves in helping clients. And really, I think at the end of the day, the goal is to get this resolved for clients as quickly as possible. So communication is a big factor. But I always remind clients when signing up or considering hiring us or any other tax resolution company, you got to remember that there is going to be some level of involvement and participation on both ends where we need to work together to get this resolved in a timely fashion.
Yes. I think one of the greatest things that your company does, Ryan, is listen, when you've got the IRS on your back, it makes it very difficult to sleep at night, get along with others. But once they sign up with you, they don't have to talk to the IRS anymore and worry about saying the wrong thing.
That's correct. So once we bring a client on board, we do file what's called a 2848, which is a power of attorney that allows us to strictly represent them with the IRS. So at that point, we're handling all direct communication with the IRS. So that takes them out of the picture where they're not having to deal with them directly, which is actually better because at the end of the day, we're the experts. We know the tax law. We know how to present the case best to get them the best possible outcome. So we don't want clients saying something that might hurt their case or things of that nature. So it really, at that point, once they hire us, it's best to let us as the experts handle everything moving forward. And we serve as their liaison. So if they do have any questions, concerns, or anything of that nature, they can always reach out to our team, whether dealing with our case managers, our preparers, attorneys, or enrolled agents. So there's always somebody there that can help them along the process and let them know what to expect next, as these cases can take some time.
Let's give everybody, if you're watching on TV now, we're scrolling the phone number, but for those who are listening on radio or on iHeart, give everybody your phone number, Ryan.
Absolutely. Our direct company number is 800-881-7659. And our hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. But we do help clients throughout the entire country.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, if you have a friend or a family member who's struggling with the IRS, the best information you can give them is not to handle it yourself, because you are dealing with very professional people. And when you have a company like Ryan's company, you have more of a level playing field. And you need that because, first of all, you can absolutely say the wrong thing trying to handle it yourself. That's what's so great about Federal Tax Law Group. They're going to handle this for you. They have a lot of ways to deal with the IRS that you have no idea about. And you're going to come out a lot cleaner. You're going to be able to sleep at night, and you're going to be able to get along with your wife or your husband. It's so important. A friend of mine actually try to handle this himself. This was about 10 years ago. And he will tell you now that the best thing he ever did was finally hire a company to represent them. So, Ryan, what you do, what Federal Tax Law Group does, it really absolutely helps people because you're not a bad person if you owe the IRS, are you, Ryan?
No, of course not. I'd say the majority, or not all clients that we help, they're good people that just happen to fall behind. And then from there, it's kind of like that domino effect, where snowball effect, where you let 1 year go, you let the next year go, and then it just seems like an overwhelming problem that most people don't want to deal with. So, but I'd say most people are good people. They just have gone into a situation, life happened, and we're here to help them get back on track.
Ryan, we got a minute left. Tell people why they should retain Federal Tax Law Group.
Well, if you're dealing with any sort of tax problem, you want peace of mind, you want to know that you have a professional handling it for you, I definitely advise you give us a call. We're more than happy to take you through a free consultation. We'll let you know if this is something we can help you with. So we'll assess your case for free. We'll let you know what your options are. And then if it makes sense, we'll take the next steps in the process. But there's definitely help out there. So there's no reason to be intimidated by the IRS. There's professionals that specialize in this particular type of tax law, and we're here to help individuals out. At the end of the day, we want to get this behind clients and give them a fresh start.
Hey, this is Ryan's first show. Ryan's going to be back again with us next month. And God, we've got a ton of texts that came in thanking us for the show. And really, Ryan, we thank you for the show. We'll see you again next month. Let's give out that phone number one more time.
Absolutely. It's 800-881-7659.
Wonderful. And we'll see you again next month, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day, Steve. Take care.
Ryan Campos. We're going to go take a short break and we come back. If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you don't want to miss our next expert. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
We are back. I got to tell you, we really are lucky to have such a great show with such great listeners. The way you participate we just can't thank you enough. We get so many letters now on a daily basis, and it's just nice hearing from you. Our next guest this is going to be their second show, and we got so many letters from their first show, people just thanking us, offering this type of show. The name of the company is Property Claims Consultants, and we have Ken with us today. Good afternoon, Ken.
Hello, Stephen. How you doing?
We're doing good. I got to tell you, David did such a great job, the president of the company, last time, and you got some big shoes to fill this time.
Yeah, I'm blessed that he chose me here, but he's fantastic, and I hope to give you a different look at the same industry is basically what I think he's trying to do, and I think I'll be able to do that pretty well.
Ken, I got to tell you, I love what you all do because one of the things that you do is you make a homeowner have a level playing field, because these insurance companies are not your friend, are they?
That's exactly right. That's my line. I don't have to say it too much, but as soon as someone calls me, I said, you figured out they're not your friend when you need a claim. They're your friend when they're taking your money and you're paying for the policy. When you're making a claim, it's part of the business. They're now in an adversarial stance, in a sense, in that they want to pay you as little as possible, and you don't really know any better. So it is definitely lopsided once the claim process starts.
Well, tell everybody about Property Claims Consultants.
Sure, it's led by David Melzer. He's our principal. He's a fantastic guy. He's been in the claims business for a long time, but of course, like many of us, he started on working for the insurance company. So he was the guy paying as
He was
little
on
as
the other
possible.
side.
He was on the other side, paying as little as possible, and to everyone. And just like us, you get to a point where you say, I could probably do more good on the other side, helping people get the money out of an insurance company. But he has a wide range of claims experience as a large loss adjuster. It gives him an experience that not many adjusters have, because he was able to handle very large claims, $1 million claims, much larger claims, complex claims. Not all claims are the same. So you have commercial claims, you have large, residential claims, you have flood, you have catastrophic claims. Dave has it all the experience. So he decided to go on this side, and he spoke to somebody, said, you could really help a lot of people with your experience. He said, it's going to be hard, but I might do it. And successful he is in doing that. We're glad glad he chose this business, for sure.
Well, being that you've worked in all aspects of the insurance industry, what value do you see in public adjusters?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when you're dealing with a claim, and if you're a property owner, business owner, I mean, even we consult a lot of contractors that are trying to deal with insurance company for their client. Basically, when you have a claim that's 50 to 75,000 in property, it's very difficult to handle that yourself. I say that from experience, and if anyone's gone through the claim experience, they would say Ken is correct. So what happens is, in an auto claim, it's fairly easy. People are used to auto claims. We kind of experience that more often, hopefully not. But if you do, if you have a 2019 BMW, we all know the value of that. You tell me the amount of miles you have on that vehicle, and if it gets wrecked, we know the value of it. Everyone can, click a couple buttons. But in a property claim, it's much more complex. There's many different aspects that you have to consider, and the insurance company has whole teams, they have departments, and you're just this one person buried in it. So you're emotionally tied to not having your home. Your home is falling apart, so your whole living situation is upside down. Now these adjusters are throwing 40-page estimates at you, and they're telling you it's correct, and yet you have a sense that something's not right. You don't have the tools to know for certain that you're getting what you're entitled to in a claim. So public adjusters bring that surety, especially a firm like ours, where we're very experienced. We bring that peace of mind that you're getting what you're entitled to. Very hard to get that. Very hard to get that by yourself.
Ken, there's so many things that you all think about that the average person would never think about. 10 years ago, I had a flood in my house, and they came out and they wanted to, the tile of the floor, some of it had been ruined, and they wanted to replace it. But the only problem is that old tile was no longer available, but they were going to give me something close. And a friend of mine said, you know what? You've got to get a public adjuster. And like a lot of people, like, what is a public adjuster? What are they going to do? And that's the purpose of this show. But they came in, the public adjuster came in and got me probably about 60% more. And he made them pay for the entire floor to be tiled, and they were getting ready to basically cheat me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the best way. But if I hadn't had a public adjuster, I would have probably settled.
Yeah. That's a very common experience. That's a case where you don't really know the law, you don't know the rule, you don't know what they're really required to do when pushed, which is match your tile or pay for the whole thing, which in your case they couldn't match. You didn't know. And if you have a very charismatic person like me on the other end, or who is working as an insurance, say, hey, we're going to take care of you, and we're going to pay for a couple of these tiles. Okay, honey, we're going to get a couple tiles. You don't know. and a public adjuster will come in with that expertise. Not every state has those rules, but most of them do, which they should pay for the rest of it if they can't match it. It's the same as a roof. Roofs are very common now. We have weather all across the nation. We're getting calls all over. Roofs are in a similar fashion, and they get damaged. And if they can't, if they can't match it, they have to replace it in many cases. So you're right. It's not something that's common knowledge. You're really diving into an area that we all don't have just in our normal, life. We don't experience these type of rules. So it catches you by surprise. And these companies, we always say, do they scam, or is it they just, some of it's all the above. They want to impress their managers by paying very little. They sometimes are just, they want to do the easiest thing, which is convince you to take the least. And the other ones, they're just buried. They're just, if they miss something, it's not because they purposely did it. They're just buried in work. So what can they do but give you as little as possible?
I just got a text. Do you work with condo associations?
Yes. So many condo associations will experience a weather event, which will basically pierce through their shell, which is the exterior, and then affect multiple units in there, which is on the condo association's agreement. The CC&Rs are the agreements that a condo association puts together, which details what the condo owner and the condo association is responsible for. And so those are very complicated claims because those are dictated by those CC&Rs. Those CC&Rs are very, very complicated documents. So we come in, and the insurance company won't pay right away in those cases. They say, nope, we got to figure it all out. And having a public adjuster work with that association is key, because we can really hasten that time to be like, all right, insurance company is really well defined. This is what they're responsible for. You're on the hook, association insurance company. And then what's not on the hook, we work with the homeowner to explain to them, you have this remedy with your condo insurance company. So yeah, we do work with those.
How do you become a public adjuster?
That's not easy. I mean, to be a good one, I mean, to get results for people, you have to have hundreds of claims handling experience, in my opinion. I've been through the ringer. I've been in the insurance business a long time, 30 years. And I started in the claims department, and I've literally probably touched thousands of claim files, and I've been on the insurance agent side as well. So I've sold the policies that I'm now representing homeowners for. So I know the policy contract really well, which is what a public adjuster does. But you basically go through an apprenticeship where you work for a public adjuster and you handle claims for a minimum a year, and you have to go through it. There's no easy way. There's no way to learn it and all of a sudden you're on. You have to do it on the job. And so they do it through experience, going out there, looking at homes, looking at roofs. Today I'm wearing a little suit for you, Steve, but usually I'm up on a roof somewhere, and I'm experiencing all kinds of stuff. So, it depends on the person. Desk adjusters, they have the experience, but now they just want to sit behind a desk. Adjusters like me are more out in the field, on a roof, looking through properties, looking at documents. I have a whole team too that looks at estimates. So it's through experience that you become a public adjuster.
Ken, there's people think about, when they do think of a public insurance adjuster, they think winds, high winds, rain, but there's so many other areas though that you cover as well.
Yeah. So we're talking about weather now because we've had so many weather events, especially out here in the West. We had this incredible storm that affected, Palm Springs area was just devastated, and they were already dealing with one tropical storm. Then we got hit with this other one. We have mountains here, so the snow in our mountains has been like something back east. And so, basically, you have pipes in your house that can burst, which When it floods your house, it becomes an unbelievable experience. I think that's more aggravating than a fire. In a fire, someone's reserved the fact like, wow, I'm alive. I could have been dead, and now my house is destroyed. Okay, let me see how to move on. And public adjusters come in and handle all that and handle your additional living. And there's all that. And in a flood, you almost have to deal with your home in that condition, and the moving parts to get it back are very difficult to deal with. Water is very difficult. So you have water, you have fire, you have smoke. Out here, we have wildfires. These wildfires are massive, and the smoke from these wildfires can severely affect it if it's close enough to there. So you have that, which is different than a storm. And I think if you're in Florida, you have, of course, you have the hurricanes, which affect you in a completely different way. So the flood policies and the hurricane policies, and we have earthquake policies out here. Those are completely different policies than your homeowners or your business owners policies. They're paid differently. They have different rules, and if you're experiencing a flood or fire, definitely if it's large enough, a public adjuster would definitely help navigate that whole thing effectively. And
What about mold, Ken?
mold's a big one. So I don't know, when I was a kid, you didn't care. No one cared about mold. Put some bleach on there and bleach on there, and you're good. But information has come out that was dangerous. That stuff was dangerous. That stuff, if you leave it in your house, it's not just some black stuff, it affects you in such a negative way. It builds in the air. The spores start building in the air, and then you're breathing it in, and then you have these conditions. Many of my clients that have dealt with mold, they all have the same story. It's amazing. I start feeling these headaches. I just don't know going away. And then other people in the house are experiencing, and then I feel a little down, almost like sick, but it's lasting for weeks. And then we discover there was mold from water damage that wasn't properly mitigated. And that might bring up the next point of your mold, is that a public adjuster is going to make sure that you're safe in a water claim, because this mold is a big issue. You leave water in the wrong place in a claim and you're going to get mold. It could be this big, and all of a sudden, because you left it and you weren't, because you're not an expert at it, you couldn't find it or didn't know how to find it, you left it, and all of a sudden you're not breathing right, you got headaches in 3 or 4 weeks. And it's a big issue, and it can grow very quickly. So in Arizona, it grows within 24 hours because of the heat, and it's dry. And so if it's wet, it's growing immediately. In California, it's similar. And back east, you have mold. Oh, it's rampant because of how damp it is. So big issue.
And there's also break-ins too.
Vandalism, sure. So vandalism is nowadays, with whatever everybody's experiencing, theft and vandalism it's on the rise. We're seeing it with calls, and vandalism in the commercial space is where we're seeing it the most. We're having people, break in and steal their inventory, and we're having, vacant buildings and rental buildings. If you're an owner of a rental property and it's vacant, chances are someone's going to figure out that it's vacant, break in and vandalize it, steal stuff. So vandalism is another place where a public adjuster can do a lot of good. And those vandalism policy language is very peculiar in a commercial world. So getting a public adjuster is really key, so they could read those details, read that contract, read what they pay. In a commercial world, sometimes, if someone breaks in, they don't pay for the theft of the things that happen if the building was vacant for a certain amount of time, but they'll pay for the vandalism. So it's a very, very complex issue, and people are experiencing it more and more with their homes that are rentals and commercial.
Ken, when's the best time to bring a public adjuster in?
Great question. Oh my gosh. I would say as early as possible. I would say, this is my opinion. I would say call a public adjuster before you call the insurance company, because you're going to get a free consultation with us. We're going to give you a professional assessment of what that is. And because of the insurance industry, and we'll get into this later, I think it would be wise for a public adjuster to advise you on whether or not and you should make the claim and how you should make it. And maybe they can open that claim for you because, calling them first, you have a lot of advantages that will help you succeed in that claim. Whether they take that claim or not, you're going to get a professional opinion. So not, probably about 70% of my calls, I can't take every claim. They're just not big. They don't fit, but I still help them because that's why we're in this business now. We're really in it to help people because we were on the other side, not helping people. Now we're on this side. So we like to help everyone that calls us. If, we can just give them some advice to make sure their claim goes smoothly, we do. And that really helps people. People have really, thanked us for doing that over the years. And I think the earlier the better. But we have people that call us. They're a year into a claim and they're stuck, and they call us, and that's not a problem either. So anytime would be great, especially if you just feel like something's not. Most people have a sense that something's not going right, but I would prefer them to call earlier. Call as soon as possible. We'll give you a free assessment. We'll advise you on what to do and how to make that claim and proceed that way.
Ken, in some states, and I don't know about California, but you can somewhat settle a claim even though you weren't happy with it, and you can come back and reopen it. Is that true?
That's correct. That's correct. So there's a time limit. You could do that too, but basically you can open up a claim at any point if you have more information that you were entitled to more money. So let's say in your case, you had those tiles and you took the money for the 3 or 4 tiles, but maybe later on you spoke to someone, you found out, boy, that's not going to match. We can't find that. And months later, because maybe it's just your timing of fixing it, you find out there's no tile. You can't fix it. You can reopen that claim and say, hey, there's no matching tile. I can't find it. You can open that claim back up. We open claims back up all the time and say, hey, there's more information from what we observed that this person's entitled to. And we ask them to open up the claim and consider that supplement that we're going to submit and ask for those additional amounts that weren't paid or what should have. We will always, a lot of times what should have been paid. So we'll say, hey, this is what you guys missed. So there's time limitations. Every state's different, but it's usually about a year after it's closed. So you want to do it within 12 months of when they close the claim. So you have a lot of time when you think about it. If you had a claim and it took a few months and then they closed it, then you have 1 year from that date to bring that back up.
So could a person have a public insurance adjuster, not be happy with the settlement, listen to our show, and come back and hire you?
Oh, yeah. There are many times where someone's used a public adjuster, didn't get what they thought, and we come in later. It's rare because, public adjusters, there's a good relationship there. We get paid on a contingency basis, which means we get you money, we get a percentage, a small percentage of it. So it's a great relationship. We find you more money, we get. So usually public adjusters are on it. We are very good public adjusters. We're very thorough. So it's rare we come across that, but there are times where someone missed, if in complex claims or claims that many moving parts, sometimes a public adjuster didn't do what they're supposed to. And there are people too, they're going through life. So sometimes they're going through their own things and maybe weren't so thorough. And then we come in and complete that job for sure. That's a good point.
So I'm going to ask you something, and I know you'll be honest about it, but it's probably the most important question I'll ask you this evening. Why should I hire your company?
Should hire our company specifically because we have extremely experienced and ethical and reputable public adjusters under us. All of us have had thousands of claims experience, and that's not easy to come by. And, we have a team that, with Dave heading it, and that have had so much experience that you can't replicate that in any easy way. The amount of complexity of our claims and the amount of our claims really is the reason why you should hire us, because we're going to bring a whole team experience to it. We go through all the claims every week. We make sure that Your claim is being taken care of and thoroughly looked at by every side. We look at the claim, upside down, sideways. We look at it in the complexity. We read that contract. I actually went to school for insurance contracts back in the day. You couldn't get a degree for insurance. I went to a school that specialized in insurance contracts. That contract dictates everything, and the more you're able to read that and apply it to this claim, the more you're able to get a better result. And all of us here are really good at doing that. And I think that hiring our firm would be a great place to start if you're experiencing a claim. Just call us, and we'll be glad to give you a free assessment and give you a professional opinion. It's key.
After hearing David and you speak, I think one of the greatest things about your company is you really do care.
Big time. So I'll tell you what it's like working on the other side and not paying a claim. You get to a point where you're working and you're happy you're working. You're working for some big billion-dollar company, but then what happens is there comes that family and that you want to help because you have all this money that the insurance company lets you write, and your manager tells you don't pay that. And you're like, well, really, we should, we can. It's under the policy. Hey, don't pay. It gets to a point where you're like, I can't do it any longer. Just in a moral compass in you just says I can't. And to find this part of the business where we get to help people get that money is unparalleled. You literally can't find many professions other than maybe the medical field where you get to help people and make a living, and there's nothing better than that. And so all my team, I'm very proud of my team too. We help so many people. We don't charge them. We just advise them. We love it because we're helping them. We're helping them get money from the insurance company that they're supposed to. And there's a little satisfaction that we get on that. And so,
it's so obvious you love what you do. I love the fact that you've been on both sides of the table and you really have a much, I guess, deeper insight for your clients.
Yeah, we're going to bring something that, I sometimes people say, why should I? Well, if you had a large business, would you just do your own taxes? Probably not. Well, this is one of those events in your life that hopefully doesn't happen many times that you want a professional handling it that's working on your behalf. If you experience a fire or flood or an event and it's larger, you don't want to miss that situation by trying to go it yourself. Many people believe the advertising, and you said it earlier, and like a good neighbor or friend, they believe that advertising. So they literally just give themselves up thinking that the insurance company is just there to take care of them. And that's what you have to get. And when you realize they're not, and many people do, then having a public adjuster will give you that professional and that advocate on your side. And that is invaluable. It's equivalent to going to court without a lawyer. If you were going up with something serious, it's equivalent to doing your own taxes when you have a large business. When you have a claim, don't go it alone. Hire a public adjuster. That's my advice there.
Well, I gotta tell you, it's always on your show. It always goes by so fast. The name of the company is Property Claims Consultant. And give everybody your number who's listening on radio right now.
Sure. My phone number is, I'll give you 310-734-8071. And I'll repeat it one more time for everyone. So it's 310-734-8071. And I'd be glad to give you a free assessment. And we have a whole team here, and I'll get you in touch with Dave. Whatever you want, we'll help you out.
And next time, stop dressing better than the host. Ken, what a great job you did today. I see why David trusted you to come on the show. Hey, we hope you'll come back again. You all will be back with us next month with more Ask the Experts. Thanks, Ken.
Great, Steve. Thank you very much.
You bet. Hey, that's the property claims consultants. They're amazing. They are really good at what they do, and you need that extra help. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. God bless everybody.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.